In this video, we want to share some insights about the sound structure or phonology of English words. We are going to do this by working together on some language activities that help us closely analyze the sounds in words, so that hopefully we can inspire other educators to approach their phonemic awareness instruction with playfulness and curiosity.
The English language is a quirky, mischievous system of sounds. So let's play around and see how these sounds work. If you want to, you can play along with us at home by pausing the video after each activity or question and see if you can notice the same things about language that we are highlighting in our conversations.
You know what a phoneme is, right?
Yeah, one of the individual sounds in a language that make up the sound of a word in that language.
Great. So let's do this. I want you to think of as many words as you can that have more letters than phonemes. Let me give you an example of what I mean. So a word like cat has 3 letters, but it also has exactly 3 sounds. K, a, t. So that would not count in this activity because it does not have more letters than sounds. On the other hand, let's think of a word like, let's say, heat. Heat has 4 letters, but it only has 3 sounds. Eat. So it has more letters than sounds. Can you think of other words like this that have more letters than sounds?
Let's see. Leaf. It has 4 letters, l, e, f, but only 3 sounds.
Good.
Take. It also has 4 letters, t, a, k, but only 3 sounds.
Can you think of others?
Let's see. Staff. It has 5 letters, s, t, a, f, but only 4 sounds. And worth. It has 5 letters, w, th, but only 3 sounds.
Oh, good one.
This is pretty easy. I can think of lots of these.
That's true. Lots of English words have more letters than sounds because there are lots of multi-letter graphemes in English. You know what I mean when I say graphemes, right?
A fancy way of saying letters and letter combinations used in the spelling system of a language?
Yep, that's it. Now let's try something different to extend our thinking even further. What is the word with the largest grapheme to phoneme ratio you can think of? So, for example, the word heat that we saw a minute ago has 4 letters and 3 sounds. So it has a ratio of 4 to 3. Can you think of words with even larger ratios? Maybe even words that have twice as many letters as sounds, or maybe even bigger than that.
Oh, let me see. What about something like quack? I know there are 2 sounds blended at the beginning of QU words. K, w. Then we have a, k. So that's 5 letters and 4 sounds, 5 to 4. That works, but it's not a great ratio. QU is 2 sounds, but it's also 2 letters. So that's not the right strategy here. Maybe the trick would be to think of words with consonant digraphs. Those make 1 sound with multiple letters. And vowel teams. Those also make 1 sound with multiple letters. What about phone? It has a consonant digraph and multiple letters for the vowel. N. So that's a ratio of 5 to 3. So that's a little better. How about shoe? Sh, oo. That's a 2 to 1 ratio. Twice as many letters as sounds. Hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good one. I wonder if there are words with more than twice as many letters. Is there a word with a 3 to 1 ratio, do you think?
I don't know. Is that possible?
Well, let's move on, but maybe in the back of your mind, keep thinking about that question. And our audience can keep thinking about it too. Now, let's flip this activity around. Can you think of words that have more phonemes than letters?
Okay, that's not as easy. More sounds than letters? I guess the trick here would be to find words that have single letters making multiple sounds. Wait, is that even possible?
Let me give you an example to get you started. Think of a word like tax, as in you have to pay a tax on everything you buy.
Okay, tax. X. No, wait. That's two. K, s. The grapheme X has two phonemes?
Yes, exactly. X often makes the sounds k, s in English words. That's two sounds for one letter. So words like tax, max, and box all have more sounds than letters. But this is still pretty rare compared to words with more letters than sounds. Imagine you're working with a kid on phonemic segmentation. You've asked a child to tell you the phonemes in a word. Now, normally we would do this just verbally with spoken words, not any written word cards or anything like that. But to help us talk about the examples and refer to them with our audience, I wrote them here just to make it a little easier. So I'm going to ask you to look at each response, and instead of thinking about why it's wrong, I want you to think about what makes it logical or expected. All right? So here's the first one. So the kid was told the word dress and asked to say all the phonemes that they hear in that word. And here's what they came up with. J, R, E, S.
That's actually really intuitive of the student. When I say the word dress out loud, they are right. It starts with something that sounds very much like J and not D. So as far as phonemic analysis is concerned, this isn't an error. It's an accurate way of thinking about the sounds in this word.
Yeah, that's a good example of how in actual spoken language, the phonemes that we produce and hear get smushed together or co-articulated with the other sounds around them, and this can make the sound shift a bit. So if you know this fact about language as a teacher, you're better positioned to know how to help kids with reading and spelling. This is a really important insight for teachers, actually. We teach kids to notice and manipulate a discrete set of phonemes, but these phonemes don't really exist in pure form in real language. They're kind of artificial.
Really? Are you saying they're fake?
Not exactly. Don't be alarmed. By calling them artificial, I don't mean they're not important or they're not real. Phonemic manipulation is really important. But it is helpful to know that the list of phonemes that you're teaching isn't perfectly reflective of anyone's real language. These are just artifacts that we use to help kids break language down, to help our brains learn to pair letters and sounds in an alphabetic writing system. So let's try another one. So a different child was given the word like, and we asked them to break it down into all of its sounds, and they came up with this. L, I, E, K. What do you think about that?
Okay, at first glance, that's a little odd. Like has three sounds, l, long I, and k. Why does this student break it down into four sounds? This student has two vowels in the middle, I, E. Wait, it does kind of sound like that. L, I, E, k. I see how that might be logical for the student. I would prefer they notice the long I as a single vowel sound, but I get where they're coming from.
Yeah, those are really great observations. You and the student are correct that for many people, long I is produced and sounds in a way that almost resembles two vowels. In fact, some people might say that long I is a diphthong, similar to the other common diphthongs in English. Owl, as in house, and oi, as in boil.
Diphthong?
A diphthong is a vowel sound that partially slides into a second sound. Do you hear that when I say I, ow, oi? We refer to a diphthong as one single phoneme because that makes it easier to talk about and teach, but it has kind of a quirky quality to it, almost like it's two different vowel sounds straddling two separate syllables in a word. Some people like to say a diphthong is a syllable and a half. So yeah, the kid is noticing something interesting about the long I here. We would want to help them begin to notice that this weird sound they hear is long I and it counts as one phoneme, but what they've done has some logic to it.
Interesting side note. Remember before when you were saying that the set of phonemes we teach doesn't really map onto everyone's real speech? Well, a distinctive feature of how some people speak here in North Carolina is that our long I sound is not as much of a diphthong compared to other varieties of English. It has less of a glide to it. Instead of like, it's like I.
That's a good reminder that it's impossible to talk about phonemes without talking about differences in dialect. One of the ways that different dialects of a language will differ from each other is the way words sound when they're pronounced. Everyone speaks a particular dialect, and yes, everyone has an accent. It's not the case that some people talk normal and other people have accents. As far as language is concerned, there actually is no normal. There's just a wide range of dialect variation, and everyone has some features of language that align them with some people in their language community and that distinguish them from other language communities. The point of phonemic awareness instruction is to help kids develop a sensitivity to the phonemes in the words that as they say and hear them in the language community that they belong to. This can get tricky in classrooms where there might be lots of English language varieties represented among the students. But the key idea here is that phonemic awareness instruction should attune children to the forms of English language that actually surround them, not to some idealized version that no one actually speaks. Okay, this next activity is something that you might see teachers using with children. Look at this sequence of words that I'm showing you. I want you to say the words out loud and try to figure out how each word relates to the next word in the sequence. Your goal is to figure out the pattern so you can propose a word that would fit next here in the sequence.
All right, I'll start by saying them aloud. I assume we are thinking about sounds here, not letters, right?
Yep, that's true. We could do this completely orally without any letters or written words at all, but I thought it would be easier to show the words for the benefit of our audience.
Okay, schools, zesty, east, table, lie, ice. I'm thinking about beginning and ending sounds as I read these. Oh, I think I noticed something. Let's see. Schools. No, schools. I think that's a z in the plural s there, which is the beginning sound of zesty, which ends in e, zest-e, and that begins the next word, east. So the next word begins with the last sound of the word before it.
Yep, that's the pattern. So, using that pattern, what word could go next in the sequence?
Ice ends with s, so we need a word that begins with s. How about sun? Or we could even use schools, and we would circle right back to where we started.
Clever. Good work.
Hopefully, across these activities, we have shown some important insights about how the English sound system works, but also that playing with language can be fun. You can share these same activities with your colleagues to help them play with language too. Then we can all be language nerds. Oh, and one more thing. Remember at the beginning, you asked if I could think of a word with 3 times more letters than phonemes?
Did you think of one?
I think so. What about though? 6 letters, T, H, O, U, G, H. 2 sounds, V, O.
Wow, that just blew my mind.